because if you've got only 14 games to pitch and you're used to throwing 34, you don't really... Your body's not going to be ready for that. And in his case, he hadn't thrown since September of 2019, which is month 9. So he hadn't thrown in like 10 months. I mean, I'm sure he practiced on his own. I followed his Twitter a little bit during the extended off season. And yeah, he played with his wife a bit, but there's only so much you can do when you're stuck in your own backyard. When you can't throw to your regular catchers every single day, you're not going to be used to that. So this year, because he doesn't have that same feel, I hope I'm wrong. I do. I love John Means. He's actually one of my favorite ball players. But what I expect is that he's going to have probably 5 or 6 games worth of growing pains, so the month of April is probably going to be pretty hard on him. They are doing spring training this year, so I expect that he'll be able to shake off a lot of the rust, but you're never going to be able to shake off all the rust from spring training. So he's going to have he's going to have probably a pretty rough April. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. But come May time frame, going down the stretch, I think he's going to be just fine. His ERA is probably going to be a bit inflated because his April is not going to be great, and it's really hard to recover from a bad April than it is to have a bad May through August and a great April in terms of your numbers. It sounds stupid, but it's true. Math. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second, third, and fourth guy. And then I'll move on to the fifth guy, because, yeah, there's going to be a reason for that. Second guy in the rotation, Keegan Aiken. So I can group him and the next guy together, but I'm going to talk about him separately. So Keegan Aiken, he really hasn't pitched much at the professional level. So his ERA's like in the low 4s. I don't like to base everything off of stats. I think I've made that pretty clear. But it's kind of a wish-wash. This is actually one of those examples where you don't base it on stats, because he has not enough experience for that 4+ ERA to really say how good of a pitcher he really is. Yeah, there's really not a lot to go on. So he's probably not going to look good, at least at first. The Orioles probably aren't going to win that many games in April. It's not going to be like 2016 where they got 4 in a month, but I think a successful month. All right, so generally speaking, if you win 20 games in a month, you had the best month of baseball. If you win 3 or 4, you had the worst. I think that a successful month of April for the Orioles would probably be winning about 10. It's not a winning record, but I think it's at least moving in the right direction. It also shows that, yeah, it's not a great record for April, but it shows that they will have the pieces in place to be able to move forward and get better as the season goes on. I don't expect them to make a playoff push, not with only 5 teams from each league. If it was last year, I would say absolutely. They got a legit shot, but not this year. Last year, they were in the hunt late in the season. This year, they're not going to have that. I think that Keegan Aiken, if he pitches to his potential, that's the word I actually have written in parentheses, is potential. If he pitches his potential, then the Orioles could make a run at a potential postseason slot, but I don't think that they will. I think there will be talk in August. By that point in time, fans will regularly be back in the stands. That's projected time frame that the vaccine will have been distributed to approximately 70 to 85% of America, which is what's required for herd immunity, I guess is what they're saying. That would be enough people to be vaccinated for life to, in quotations, go back to normal. Whatever that is. In baseball terms, it'll be we can sit next to one another in the stands. That's how a sports fan will view normal. Is, can I eat nachos next to a stranger and not care? Or am I going to be wrapping myself in a body bag if I attempt to do that? I think that it's going to be legit around that time frame that fans will be back in the stands, and if Aiken pitches to his potential, I don't think he's going to have a lights out year. Okay, I don't think anyone is... I think Mancini might, but I don't think that the rest of the Orioles franchise, or maybe Rio Ruiz, I already talked about how I feel about him. I think that those two guys could have a potential, I think those two guys could have a potential breakout year, but I don't necessarily think that they will. And then, so Dean Kremer, Kremer. I legit had to stop myself because I stopped looking at the word as I was spelling it. He only has 4 games of experience in professional baseball. So unless if he is like the next Randy Johnson or something, he's probably going to have some growing pains. This is going to be a hard year for him. Now, if he is the next Randy Johnson, oh my God, that's my favorite left-handed pitcher of all time. The best left-handed pitcher of all time. Yeah, you heard me, Sandy Koufax. But I don't know if Kramer's left-handed or right-handed. There's a 7 in 8 chance that he's right-handed. I don't know. But again, he's only got like 4 games of experience in those 4 games. He's got like a 4 ERA, and they were all last year. It's like the worst sample ever. You can't use, I already talked earlier about how you can't use 2020 as a viable sample for anything. Unless you're comparing it to the Spanish flu in 1918, you can't use it for anything. So maybe he's worked out some of his psychological issues in the offseason, because look, anytime you pitch 4 bad games, you're gonna need to work on your mind a bit. Greg Maddox, I did an episode on him, and he said it's not about how hard you can pitch or, how that curveball flies. It's what you got between the ears. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he meant. 90% of the game is fought in your brain. 90% of the game is played in your brain. I meant both of those. And so, it's possible in the offseason he's been able to call Brandon Hyde, because in the 21st century we can call and text and video chat as proof of this video. And if you're listening to my podcast, I think that proves it just as well. So I'd be shocked if he hasn't been talking to Brandon Hyde. Like, hey, what's up? So I do still think he's going to go through some growing pains, but I think most of his growing pains are going to be in the spring training where it belongs. So, got some hope for him. Next guy, I legit have the word bad written next to his name. Jorge Lopez. He's mostly been a bullpen pitcher throughout his career. He actually does have a pretty long career. When he starts, it's not good. His career ERA is over 6. If he had been playing like a year or two, maybe 3, it'd been okay. Maybe there's just not enough data. No, there's plenty of data here. I mentioned earlier I don't like to use stats to determine how I view a player's quality. I absolutely hate the wins above replacement or WAR stat. 1, because it's not a stat, and 2, how do you know how good your replacement is? But in Jorge Lopez's case, I'm willing to make the exception because he's been playing for some time. Honestly, I really think that it's just because you need someone. And if you just need someone so you can get through, so be it. And really, that's his role. I guess I didn't really lump the 3 together, but I got through the core or the heart of the Orioles rotation. Now comes the fun one. The 5th guy in the rotation, who I've been actually expecting to go somewhere else for a long, long time. And I honestly thought this guy was going to end up in pinstripes, be it Yankees or White Sox or whatever. I thought this guy was going to be in somebody's pinstripes and was going to get a World Series ring that way, because he's never had a shot at it. And up until a couple of years ago, this dude was the best pitcher in baseball. I mean that. For a long time, this guy was better than Max Scherzer. He was better than Justin Verlander. He was better than Clayton Kershaw, but getting nowhere near the props because he was in Seattle and he never got to go to the postseason, and by no means was it his fault. In August 2012, he threw the last perfect game. To date, we still do not have a perfect game thrower. I would love for that to end at some point this season, but who's going to throw it? Well, I think I've given this guy plenty of introduction. Felix Hernandez, a.k.a. King Felix. He's slated for the 5-hole in the projected starting lineup. Technically, he signed a minor league contract, but that's basically just so that they can work out kinks, like in his game, because he has to be more of a psychological pitcher now rather than just a speedball guy. In his younger days, he was definitely a hurler, not just someone who had to really think through the game real hard. He obviously did, because you don't throw a perfect game if you don't know what you're doing. You can have Aroldis Chapman's arm, but if you got no control or you don't think about it, you're never going to get it over the plate, let alone in the right places. So he knows what he's doing. I've been wanting to see Felix Hernandez, 1, get to the postseason, and 2, finally get to show what it's like to be on the biggest stage. I don't know how many years he's got left in the tank. I don't know if he's going to pitch past this season or if he's going to pitch in the regular season. I hope he does. But I want to see this guy on the mound in the World Series. A lot of great baseball players never got to play in the World Series. That's a fact. A lot of great players did not get to play in the World Series. Up until he was a Diamondback, Randy Johnson was in Seattle, never played in the World Series. Ken Griffey Jr., the best left-handed hitter in baseball. I know that's subjective, King Griffey Jr. was the first overall pick in the draft, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer when he was elected in. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. He held the record for the highest percentage elected into the Hall of Fame with 99.7%. He never played in a World Series. He's one of the best players in baseball history, and he never played in a World Series. Not one of the best players to never play in a World Series, one of the best players and never played in a World Series. King Felix, I put in that category. He's one of the best players. I personally feel like he should go in the Hall of Fame. I think he should be a shoo-in first ballot. If he's not a first ballot, second or third. But King Felix is one of the best players never to play in the big series. To play on the world's biggest stage. This year and next year, I don't see the Orioles. Now, they can make some real splashes next offseason. No doubt about that. They really could. But I don't necessarily see them making big splashes next offseason because they've really been trying to build through the draft. I want to see King Felix go to the World Series. I want to see him throw in a World Series at some point in his career. Whether it is or isn't in Baltimore, so be it. But I want to see him in the biggest stage. I think that this would be a good starting point to get his career back on track. Because, last 2 or 3 years he's not been good. He got moved to the bullpen, I think, 2 years ago. I think that this could be good for him so that he can get back on the right track and start moving in the direction he needs to go. I want him to succeed. And I think being at the back end of this rotation, he's set up to succeed. If John Means doesn't go through a slump, Keegan Aiken does pitch to his potential, Dean Kramer is at least able to pitch good enough for a guy pitching 3 in the rotation, and King Felix finds his mojo. His old mojo. 25 years old mojo. His 2012 Cy Young mojo. Then this could be a great rotation. Seriously, it could be a great rotation. But I don't know that it's going to do that. I think that it's going to take some time. And I think next season they make a legit splash. I think next year they're going to move in the right direction and they can make a winner. But this year, I think that they finished 71-91. Not a great record by any stretch, but definitely going in the right direction. I feel that they are going in the right direction. Their lineup is not stacked, but it does have a good couple of hard hitters. It's got some hitters. Yeah. And I think they got some prospects coming up. And if they can, or if their bullpen actually turns out to be better than I'm thinking, then this could be something special. I mean that. So, I'm going to go ahead and close it off there. This is my first episode of the 2021 season for previews. I already did a couple episodes earlier, mostly Hank Aaron. I did an episode on him. That one, all the episodes I've done thus far have been on my podcast solely. This is the first one that's going to YouTube. But I'm also putting it on my podcast. If you listen to podcasts, just go to Spotify or Overcast or something. I recommend listening to my episode on Hank Aaron. I'll admit I made an error, a clerical error, because I was unaware that he won the World Series the same year he won MVP. But he was one of my heroes, and that episode meant something to me. Like, I got choked up after. I'm not sure you'd be able to hear it when you listen to that episode, but I watched a documentary on ESPN like immediately after, and I was getting choked up. He was one of the best players you'd ever meet. He was one of the best people you'd ever meet. And I respect the hell out of him. I didn't mean for my Baltimore Orioles preview episode to go for like almost an hour, or for that I got sidetracked so many times, but I'm not sorry. I'm actually proud that this is my first episode that I'm putting on. Or for YouTube, it's part 2. For my podcast, it's all one episode. And I'm grateful. I love doing this. It's not my day job. It's not my only job. It's far from it. But I'm glad. So, with that said, thanks for listening. Cheers until next time.